Before I introduce our first speaker, Ross Kennedy, today, I'd just like to, I guess, set the scene of what the forum's about. And there's three things, really. Today's about a day of reflection, because in our busy lifestyle styles today, especially at work, we don't really get enough time to sit and really think about what we've done well, what we could have done. So today we've got presenters sharing, I guess, some of their reflections, which leads us to the next thing about sharing our learning. And that's what today's really all about, networking. And I've got a challenge for everyone that when we do have the breaks today, during the tea breaks and lunch and networking drinks this evening and dinner for those that are staying, please try and seek somebody out that you haven't met before and strike up a conversation and share some your learnings, because that's really what it's all about. And the third thing is the celebration. So today we're going to be having some team competitions to celebrate some of the great work that they've done. We'll be giving out milestone awards this evening. We're going to have our instructors graduation as well. And also just to share, I guess, some of your wins when it comes to continuous improvement with your colleagues and the new people that you're going to meet today.
And on that point, I'd like to go back to what Leica wrote about in his book, Continuous Improvement, where he came up and started, I guess, articulating what we had learnt over the last 10 years. And he used the language mechanistic versus organic approach to operational excellence. And what we mean by that is mechanistic is a linear view of the workplace, treating your workplace like a machine that requires tools to fix, versus organic is a systemic view of the workplace. In other words, treating the workplace like a living organism that requires nurturing. And the key learning is that people who take the mechanistic approach do not sustain. And we see a lot of companies out there over the years who have gone out and applied a lot of lean tools but have not had the sustainability, because they've done it from what we call the mechanistic viewpoint. And I guess that's why Lean was, like I said, the first book was written in 1990, The Machine That Changed the World, which is now 22 years later, right? Yeah, 22 years later, people are still trying to get it to work, because everyone's taken very much a mechanistic approach. Now, we take work groups, your employees, and we go and do an improvement. We go and do an event. Some people like doing Kaizen events or whatever. You go out there and you do something. You get some energy, you get some outcomes, you get some results. You take that activity away, and what happens? Event-focused improvement, you get the improvement outcomes, it will naturally decay. If you stop doing it, it will naturally decay. The second law of thermodynamics tells us, just like gravity, it will fall to the ground, it will naturally decay. And that's what we've seen in organisation after organisation after organisation, where they go and do some improvement and they stop it. And at the moment, we've got this really interesting scenario going on in lots and lots of companies. And that is, it's called hard times, financial. We've seen in the mining sector, oil prices coming down. Manufacturing, high Australian dollar. So what's everyone do? Save money, stop the improvement. And they wonder why things start to decay pretty rapidly. And we've got to be very careful. I was at a conference the other day about selling and marketing, and the chap there saying that, yeah, in hard times, the dumb companies stop marketing and stop advertising to save money. And the end result is that they just lose market share. The smart companies keep promoting, keep advertising. It's the same with improvement. In the hard times is when we should continue on with our improvement. So what's organic approach? It's very basically weekly improvement activities focusing on developing people and getting small outcomes that don't stop. Ongoing, ongoing, ongoing. And that's really the key to it. We've just got to keep doing it if we want to get to operational excellence.
So our CI strategy, I guess back in December, we had a conversation with Ross. We had a bit of an anchor around our CI strategy around One Best Way. Obviously there's a bit of an anchor there with our name, but also it was about operating to standards, and it just became an anchor point in our business plan deployment around getting better, and we're all going to do it the same way. And it's endured 2.5 years later. Guys still refer to it, so it's something that we've been able to keep going back to with our CI strategy. But why we chose frontline problem solving, clearly standing too far away. As I said before, we have a corporate OPEX group, and they were developing the One Steel operating system. They might have pinched a few things from Toyota and the like, but part of that was a practical problem solving or a frontline problem solving methodology, but we weren't supported. We're a site of 80. At present we make about 50,000 tonnes. We got sites making anywhere from 1.2 million tonnes, 800,000 tonnes, so we were further down the line. But as the site manager, I wanted us to improve at a greater rate. I needed some help. So I sent an email off to the OPEX group suggesting that we were going to go with the Centre for TPM. All hell broke loose. I had people sending emails left and right, part of the OPEX group, and what's this heretic doing and not supporting. Upon review, they looked at it and went, well, it actually does have some pretty good alignment. And it's a resource that we're able to use externally. And the reality was OPEX group couldn't support us. What we need too is we wanted to get the right balance between reactive improvement and proactive improvement. We had Six Sigma projects, we had a lot of engineers working on a lot of proactive activity, but we had these concern strips each day being generated and we weren't seeing them go away, we weren't closing out the problem. Again, I'll show you a bit about the visual side of the process and using the cause and effect diagram to identify potential causes. You can see it's a high engagement exercise. The guys are writing down on the post-its, sticking them up, talking around, moving them around during the training exercises, seeing the high level of engagement from the guys. What I was seeing was teams being pulled closer together, and at a higher level, the lead team members that sort of led these projects, I guess, were actually learning a lot about their process and their people. In the past, it was our lead team members that were trying to solve these problems. The getting to root cause, again, using the A0s, very good process, visually, high engagement exercise. Something that was new to me, we'd all talked about 5 whys going in this direction, but the verification step in asking the therefore question and going backwards to verify root cause. Strong in checking that we had the right root cause.
We surveyed the entire factory, and basically what we asked them for is their comments on our water, lighting, electrical equipment, our air-powered equipment, and our material handling. The results come back, they were pretty poor. We're hoping to achieve different achievements over the next couple of years and get a high level. We also surveyed the entire office staff, about the same issues, energy usage. Also again about the water, lighting, office equipment and appliances, and the heating and cooling, which also turned out to be poor results. Had poor feedback from both factory and office.
Make sure we were conforming to certain standards. We didn't just want to turn lights off and say, oh, that looks like enough light. We found the actual standards on lights from the internet. So you've got hallways and walkways, which is about 40 lux. You've got machinery work area, which is most of our factory, around 160 lux. And right at the bottom, you've got 600 lux for painting and finishing, which we didn't require that level. So what we did was we got our lux meter and we actually tested all these areas to make sure they were conforming to the standards and make sure people were happy with that.
Our key learnings to date, the cost of power usage by different parts of the business. We were pretty naive to where our power was going until we actually did the internal audit, and it was well worth doing. And if you guys are thinking about it, you really should do it. It showed up that the Bradbury line uses the largest proportion of power at 39%, which we weren't aware of until we started doing these audits. We also found that lighting presents the best opportunity for cost savings over the next few years. It basically is very minimal outlay of capital for us. It's quite cheap, but in the end we get a $27,000 return for very minimal outlay, which will increase over the years as the power costs continue to rise. One of the concerning things we found was that the employee perception of energy use practices are at a low level. The guys knew what they needed to do, but weren't sure how to tell us what they wanted. Some of the statements in the audits were that they knew lights were left on, equipment was running. So by engaging the workforce, we've been able to get some ideas out and put them into practice. And the last one's diversity of team members bring different perspectives to the team. This has been a great team with people from all areas, from maintenance, warehouse, finance, operations and planning, and it's delivered a great result to the company.
So,
thank you.
What I thought I'd start off by talking about is, what are we striving for? And the analogy that we've been using for the last couple of years is that we want our operators to be like Formula One drivers. So, what does that mean? We'd like them to understand the functioning of their equipment. We'd like them to be excellent operators. We'd like them to be able to diagnose problems. And we'd like to have a highly skilled and motivated support crew for them. So the analogy is that we've got this Formula One team that we're developing within our operations. And I think it's a pretty good analogy that if we can get that developed within our teams, we're on a pretty good path to getting equipment that's going to work for us.
So I spoke a little bit before about some of the roadblocks that we had. So they were the initial stages. We started to clean, to inspect. We started engagement with the employers, and we were creating this ownership with the guys. It's their equipment. They want it to run smoothly. They don't want a lot of multiple stoppages. So one thing that we didn't do too well after starting this journey is due to demand. We decided to put operator equipment management on hold for a while, so we stopped it for about a month. It's probably one of the worst things that we did. So we lost that momentum, and basically the comments coming from the floor was just another one of those fads. We knew this would occur, and it's just we just knew it wouldn't last forever. So basically we just lost all that engagement. And if you've got to start something from scratch again, because those comments are out there, the morale's probably fallen a little bit. The journey was made much harder to start up again. But what I am proud to say is that we have never gone back and done that again. So to this day, and Vince mentioned that as well, is time set aside each week for the guys to spend some time doing their clean journey for a while now. And we've had a lot of key wins. We've had a few roadblocks and a few issues, but I think we've actually addressed them quite well. And the clean respect activities of the OEM on the site actually works quite efficiently. And as you can see from the graphs there, is that our OEE has actually increased on site. So you can see the trend's heading upwards. As you can see, there's quite a few bumps in the road there, but the important thing is that the trend is heading upwards. And you can see from roughly when we started in 2005, how low, I think that's the industrial line was, and now we're averaging up near the 70. So that's great improvement for the site. The other thing for the site is we're currently at level 3. So as part of the CTPM milestone program, the site is level 3. I believe we're going for level 4 at the end of the year. So that just gives you an idea of where the site is at the moment, where we started and where we are now. So from an operator's point of view and the feedback I get from the guys, it's a much nicer and better place to work out, A, because there's no defects. If you have a look at some of our downtime, the top 5 would be all planned downtime. Going back to 2005, all your downtime would have been just random pieces of equipment. So now we don't see that anymore. And a lot of that credit goes to the OEM activities. So the guys do a very good job at doing it. Since we've got our structure right and we're not concentrating on just the grading plant, and we realise how important it is to maintain the production plant, we now have a great synergy with the operators on site. And obviously the trend's still heading upwards, and we've still got a little bit of way to go. So hopefully at the end of the year we'll be at level 4. But
1973 on January the 5th. That is the year I start in this place. A long time, and I'm still proud of it. On that same year, I meet one old fellow in our factory. I was the new boy. And he said to me, "Son, you know something?" I said, "No." And he said, "A clean place is the best place to work on. A clean machines, they are happy machines. And a group of young people work together, they are a good team." I think that's why we're here today. Maybe we are a good team. I'm telling you, when I walk to work, I'm always like this. When I go home, I'm always like this. Why? Because on your left-hand side. And when our TPM and our leaders team at home give us the opportunity to take care of this place, give us the power, we own it, and you can see the right now. And I talk about the truth. I'm walking to work with my head high, and then I go home with my head high. Even the bottom, that's all from this team. And I didn't know we got a skill until our leaders team at home and the TPM give us this chance to improve this thing. We're improving the
So it's
benefit.
innovation process. Genius for innovation is 10% inspiration and 90% perspiration. Thomas Edison, boy was he right. And 90% perspiration is very relevant to learning. That's the area that can really come and bite you if you haven't organised it properly when you're trying to develop stuff. So, the innovation process. On the first stages, identify the risks. There's the technical, commercial, your reputation. You don't want to take on something that, you know, you're just going to fail. You won't get anything out of it. And the worst thing is actually lose your reputation as a company that can deliver. You do not oversell the solution to the customer with unrealistic expectations. That is one of the most important things. Get your customer involved in the process. At the end of the day, make them realise this isn't easy. This is a prototype. It will require tweaking. And what we've generally found is any new machine that we have developed to the market, it's usually about the third go that you reckon you've got it right. Now, if you've got that mindset with your customer, that their expectation is that, then you don't have an issue. If you say, oh yeah, I can throw that together, it'll be working fine, geez, you're really leading with the chin. The other thing you need to do is define success. That is one of the most important things. And the other important thing is define failure. Actually say, okay, that's it, it's no good. Actually work out your exit strategies. And again, work this in with your customer. So, WHAM. We had implementation and initial perception by the workforce. Skepticism, straight up. Oh, what do we need to do this? And I was sort of thinking about it, and I thought, you know, in a way, we're almost telling our workforce that they're not doing their job properly. When you come along and say, all of a sudden, out of the blue, right guys, we're going to come up with a new way of doing things. They're thinking, hang on, I thought I was doing a good job. So again, it's about how do you sell it in a way that they don't get slightly offside. What we've seen with the WHAM, there was definite benefits. We got team bonding, came through, and group collective ownership. That was one of the biggest things that I saw all of a sudden. Supplying a consistent, repeatable process tool for your staff to channel talents that they didn't know they had. And that's a lot of people, process workers are very shy people. They don't like to put their opinions forward. And this gives them a forum to actually step out and say something and contribute. The other thing is pride. It just adds that value. You know, people start to feel proud about something, especially when they've all sat around a table, they've gone away, they've completed it. I saw the pride with our Kiwi friends. It's there, you can see it.
I talked earlier about sample agendas. So agendas are very important. You want to make sure that your audience is with you when they actually step up to the plate and you're going to do your little toolbox talk. You might have a safety item, very important, because in our workplaces there are always safety risks that can appear and it needs to be controlled. So any current hazards, bang. Feedback of any countermeasures already in process. So if you come up with a safety fix, how are we going with that? When is it going to be delivered? Quality tends to be very high because obviously that is hitting your bottom line. How's your scrap trending? Are you actually well over your mark? And why? Is it a supply issue? Are you getting coils from your supplier? Probably time to get your supplier down and start talking to him. Don't keep getting your scrap into the bin. Get something involved. Talk about customer complaints. How are we travelling? Are we actually meeting our customer expectations? Are they happy with the BND at all? I don't know if to answer right now. But if they are happy, great. But if they are raised an NCR, let's tackle that straight away. Production has production tracking at the minute. Are they actually running to the target? And once again, you want to do it quickly. We set a target for lunchtime, guys. How are you going? Will you get 14? Will you get 13? Will you get 12? Why are you only getting 12 when you should have been 13? What's the reason? Do we need to get some more staff in there to get this thing happening? Very important, planned absenteeism. Of course, there's always in manufacturing, there's people that possibly don't turn up for work. What are we going to do about it? We would normally man it up for 7 people. You've got 6 people. What are you going to do? Can we deploy somebody from elsewhere? Is there another area in your business that you can pull somebody in just to get that in? Most importantly, that planned absence. Yep, that's great. If it's unplanned, that's another, obviously, challenge you have. You really need to go through that whole process of changing a behaviour if it's a repeat occurrence, and I'm sure you guys don't need more information on that. And of course, quickly, once around the room, wherever the guys are standing, any questions, anything that they want to discuss very quickly. If it's a key area, write it up on the whiteboard. Date it, by whom, and set an action for. So we really want to try and get, and depending on where you are on your lean journey, do you need to do a cultural and a behavioural change? Because typically what you'll find when you're doing that, you'll have what we categorise as 3 types of operators on the floor. You'd have your initial resistors, and they just say, seen this, done that, don't want to know about it. You'll have a percentage that'll be fence sitters. Yeah, we'll just watch, see what's happening. New management's coming in, what's going to happen? Are they going to leave? What are we going to do? Yep. Then, of course, you have the early adopters, and these are the guys that you really want to identify very early in the piece, very early in the journey, and start mentoring and coaching them, because these are the future for your company. A gentleman mentioned the people are your assets to the company, by all means. Succession planning, so you want to lead. Typically, you may have your supervisor or your team leader, your supervisor, maybe your production coordinator doing the meetings. It's time now for him to let go and give his leading hand or team leader an opportunity.
Every team needs to have a go. I still. That's good.
5 minutes to go.
We've got non-unionised sites, you were done.
And the other thing which we've heard lots of times is it says you need to try and address these issues at the lowest practical level within the organisation. And the word practical is a key one, because if, you know, in all of these TPM books and Lean, the Japanese books, they say in a sort of slightly Jedi way, go to the machine and it will tell you what's wrong with it. And you think, how the hell? So, you know, if the machine is a packer, then you might have a chance. You go along, you stand by the side of the packer and you see that every 100th cardboard thing that goes in there gets jammed, and you go, aha, I know what's going on here. I can tell you, you can go and sit by the side of a fermentation for a very long time and it will tell you jack. So you know, you can do that for something like, you know, for a packer, but if you've got something complicated, like a fermentation, then the entry-level qualification to the conversation is a degree in microbiology or biochemistry, you know? So it's the lowest practical level, not the lowest level in the company. So they're sort of interesting observations and learnings that we've made over top-down strategy, bottom-up implementation. You know, you have to have top-down strategy, you have to have the leadership team buy into this. You know, I think we all know the analogy of the cooked breakfast. You know, the chicken was involved, but the pig was committed. You know, so, you know, the leadership team has to be the pig. You know, it was my arse on the plate along with everybody, you know, everybody else in the management team. So we have to be committed to the outcome, whereas the employees, you know, they're involved, but they don't quite have the same sort of situation that we have. So you need to have top-down strategy, and if you're going to build anything, you need to build it from the bottom. You know, I've tried to implement quality systems before now, and I have descended like Moses from the mountain with the quality manuals down there and presented them to people, only to find them 2 years later in the back of a cupboard, completely unread. So well, I've learned that that doesn't work, so you need to build it from the bottom. My story about letting the process determine what you work on. So we, you know, I did show this a couple of years ago. So the story is this. We started maintenance management in maintenance excellence in the maintenance department, and we did our Innocence to Excellence matrix, and they were schooling themselves, and I said, I don't care what we pick as long as it's not wham. Because that workshop, the only thing that workshop does not have at the moment is a lazy boy settee and a plasma TV. Because they have just got everything. And what came out of the survey? Wham. So I said, you know, so you have to let the process go the process. So, you know, they said, you know, what is holding us back is we can't find anything. And I think, oh, right, okay. So they do their wham on the workshop, and they build the shrine to drill bits. Every time I walk past this, I cross myself. You know, as if at least all the freaking bits are still in there. I think this is just the other week. So at least they haven't gone missing. But finding things, I find that finding things is seldom the problem. We heard that earlier on today, that it was a problem, but in our place, it's seldom the problem, but everybody wants to do 5S. But the point is, you know, relax. Let them do it. They're only 12 weeks away from doing a proper once they've got the drill bits out of their system, and you know, we've sort of refloated the South Australian economy with shadow boards. So you know, so let the process actually pick what you do.